Contraband by AJ Bordzhe. Narrated by Zherov. The Drain River was wide, though congested. The sound of boats carrying goods and passengers drowned out the city above, making it seem like a separate world. The illusion of separation was furthered by the fact that the river's depth varied greatly from season to season. During the spring, when the warming temperatures melted snow from the mountains far away, water would flood into the many tributaries that fed the drain. To accommodate the seasonal rise in water levels, huge stone walls had been built on either side. The river breathed up and down with the seasons like the lungs of a great serpent. Now, in the winter months, the water was low, and though the river was broad, the towering flood walls rose so high on either side it made the drain seem as if it was a massive gallery. On the Drain River, down below a footbridge, a barge lazily floated. Omar stood on the bow of the boat with his hands in his pockets, taking in the breeze of the early evening. He turned around to see his partner Amir, the captain of the customs force, and the barge driver approaching him. Amir was carrying a large bag marked rice. "Well, Amir, let's see what kind of rice we have here," Omar's captain said with a hint of glee. Amir took out his knife and made a cut along the top of the sack, revealing it to be filled with a fine white powder. The captain took off his glove and licked his pinky finger. He plunged it into the powder and then brought it to his mouth. "Just as I suspected," said the captain. He then turned to the driver and said, "You know it's illegal to transport sugar into the city without paying the tariff." But I had no idea what it was. I just picked these up. I was assured they were rice. Was I supposed to check every bag?" The driver stammered back. "I'm afraid it's your responsibility to know what cargo you're transporting. You are going to have to come with me," the captain of the customs force said, extending his arms towards the police trawler tied to the boat side of the barge. He escorted the driver in handcuffs away and ordered Omar and Amir to dump the sugar. Amir dragged the bag to the side of the boat and let the end flop over the edge. The sugar cascaded down into the black water like they were making a grand cup of coffee. "Ugh, what a waste," Omar said as he watched it fall. Amir dragged the next bag to the side and cut. "Amir, don't you think it's a waste? I mean, is it just me, or are groceries getting more expensive every week, and yet here we are throwing perfectly good food down the drain?" Omar was trying to spark a conversation with his partner. "This shit's not food. You eat too much of it and you'll get fat. Can't catch criminals when you're fat," Amir said, heaving another bag onto the side of the barge. Omar laughed. "No, but you know what I mean. It's not just the sugar. There are lots of things you can't bring in. It strikes me that if we let this stuff through, then there would be more of it, and that would bring the cost down. I'm no economist, but isn't that supply and demand? Tell me if I'm wrong," Omar asked. Amir spit and then said, "I'm not saying you're wrong because I honestly don't know. I'm no economist either. Here's what I know. I do my job, I go home, I play with my kids, then I fuck my wife. They don't pay me enough to think this big. But here I am, and you're asking big questions about supply and demand. That's just mental work I'm not going to do for free. As a matter of fact, that's your problem. You're coming up with ideas just for fun, but you should be getting paid for it." "Maybe you're right. Can't help it sometimes," Omar said, reluctantly clapping his now damp, sugar-coated hands over the boat's railing. "Course I am. Come on, that's the last of it. Let's get back to the cruiser," Amir said, lighting a cigarette. The police trawler slowly drifted away from the side of the barge as Omar untied the rope connecting them. Amir started the engine with a cigarette dangling from his mouth. The crew of the barge looked down over the railing and sadly watched the police boat motor away with their captain. Omar stared at them wordlessly, watching their faces as they too stared back at him.